It's only now that I finally understand the loneliness I helped create. It didn't arrive suddenly. It didn't crash into my life all at once. It grew slowly in the corners of my days, in the pauses of my conversations, in the moments I brushed aside because they felt too small to matter. And now, at this age, those small moments feel heavier than the larger ones ever did. I live alone now. Most people my age do, in one way or another. Even if someone is still in the house with you, even if there are voices around, the mind finds its own kind of solitude. But the loneliness I sit with isn't the kind life hands you. It's the kind you build yourself without knowing you're building it. In the mornings, I sit by the window and watch the light move across the room. I used to think time passed quickly. Now I think time doesn't pass quickly at all. It's just that we don't pay attention until we have nothing left but time. I look at the chair across from me and feel the absence of people who should have been part of my life more deeply, but weren't, not because they didn't want to be, but because I made it hard for them. When I was younger, I wasn't cruel. I wasn't cold. I wasn't trying to create distance. In fact, I thought I was doing the right things. I believed in hard work. I believed in discipline. I believed that sacrificing my time was the same as caring for the people I loved. I believed silence during difficult moments was better than speaking and risking conflict. I thought I was being strong. What I didn't realize was that I was building walls so slowly that even I couldn't see them. When I was in my 20s, I was focused on establishing myself, becoming independent, being someone others could rely on. It felt important, almost urgent. I took pride in not needing anything from anyone. That pride, I see now, was the seed of my loneliness. People want to feel needed. People want to feel invited. And without meaning to, I didn't give anyone that chance. Friendships came and went. I wasn't unfriendly, but I kept a distance, thinking people would misunderstand me if I let them too close. I was careful with my words, cautious with my emotions, polite in all the wrong ways. I told myself I was private, but privacy can become isolation if you hold it too tightly. My family, parents, siblings, cousins, they tried. They invited me to gatherings, reached out, asked how I was doing, tried to share pieces of their lives. I responded kindly, but briefly. I always had something else to do. Work, errands, rest. I believed there would be time later. I believed they would always be there. Time doesn't wait. People don't either. As I entered my 30s and 40s, I became even more dedicated to the life I thought I was supposed to build. I worked hard, too hard. I stayed late at work. I kept routines tight. I convinced myself that the sacrifice would be worth it someday. I thought being dependable meant being present, even when I wasn't emotionally present for anyone. I remember one evening, my sister called. She rarely asked for help, but that night she needed someone to talk to. I was tired. I had just come home from a long day. I told her I'd call her back in the morning. She died 2 weeks later from an unexpected heart issue. I never had that conversation. I never heard what she needed to say. I didn't understand then how much that missed call would echo through the rest of my life. My relationships followed a similar pattern. I wasn't unkind. I wasn't inattentive. I was simply withheld. I hid sadness behind silence. I hid love behind practicality. I hid fear behind routine. The people closest to me didn't know how to reach me, and I didn't know how to let them. I didn't realize that small hesitations become habits, and habits become barriers. There were missed dinners, postponed conversations, holidays I attended without really being present, moments when someone tried to confess something meaningful and I changed the subject because I felt uncomfortable. I didn't know discomfort was part of connection. I only knew how to avoid it. Thought I had time to mend all the distance I created. In my 50s, the loneliness started appearing in small cracks. I felt it when I woke up in the middle of the night and didn't know who to call. I felt it when people stopped inviting me to things because I always said no. I felt it when the house felt too quiet. But I told myself that peace was something I had earned. But it wasn't peace. It was absence. Still, I didn't understand. Not really. I thought it was just part of getting older. The turning point came in my 60s, when my closest friend, the one person who had stayed through all my silences, all my distance, suddenly grew distant from me. She stopped calling as often. She stopped visiting. She stopped finishing her sentences around me, as if she had learned I wouldn't lean in to hear the rest. One day she said gently, "I don't know how to talk to you anymore. I don't know if you want me in your life or if you're just being polite." I told her of course I wanted her in my life, but she looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Wanting someone there isn't the same as letting them in." She passed away 3 years later. The loneliness grew sharper after that because it wasn't just the absence of her, it was the realization that I had never shared enough of myself with her or with anyone. In my 70s, I tried to repair things. I reached out to family more often. I asked questions I should have asked decades earlier. I tried to say the words that had always felt too heavy. Some welcomed me back warmly. Others politely kept their distance, unsure if this new version of me was real or temporary. Relationships don't heal just because you suddenly understand what you did wrong. What can't be fixed is not dramatic. It's quiet. It's the silence after a phone call when the person on the other end doesn't offer to visit. It's the empty seat at a table where someone once sat comfortably. It's realizing you are loved but not known, remembered but not deeply missed. And now, in my 90s, I understand what I didn't understand through all the decades behind me. Loneliness isn't something that just happened to me. It was something I helped grow, one small choice at a time. I created it by not opening the door when people knocked gently. I created it by saying, "I'm fine," when I wasn't. I created it by keeping my heart so neatly folded that no one could touch it, even when they tried. I'm not telling you this because I want sympathy. Sympathy doesn't change anything at my age. I'm sharing it because the truth feels lighter when spoken and when kept inside. And because if you're listening, maybe you'll recognize a piece of yourself in this, or someone you love. You don't have to fix anything because of me. I don't have lessons to give. I don't want to tell you what you should do. I just wish I had understood earlier that connection doesn't happen in grand moments. It happens in small risks, a longer conversation, a softer answer, a question asked instead of avoided, a moment when you let someone see the part of you that isn't neat or composed. If this meant something to you, and you feel like sharing, I'm here. I may not hear well anymore, but I listen better now than I ever did in my whole life. I don't end this story with hope. Hope is for the young. What I have is acceptance. The loneliness I feel now isn't punishment. It's simply the shape of a life I built without realizing the cost. At 91, I finally understand the loneliness I helped create. And I wake each day knowing it was made quietly, gently, almost invisibly, the same way it settled into my life.